Good afternoon, 6th grade. It is Thursday, April 9th, history class time. I know yesterday's lesson was really short. We got a bit of a lengthier read today. It starts on page 270, 15.2, Mexico, land of the Aztecs. So we're going to read, I'm going to read as much of it as I can, but for the sake of time, if I'm not able to read everything, I still expect you to read it all. Make sure you know this. Let's begin. Mexico, the southern neighbor of the United States, was first inhabited by Indian tribes. A tribe of Indians called the Toltecs built a civilization north of Mexico around AD 900. Their civilization was very short-lived, and within a few hundred years, the Aztecs, a nomadic tribe from the south, had come to power. The early Aztecs settled in central and southern Mexico in an area called the Valley of Mexico. By the 1400s, they had established a powerful empire with a magnificent capital, Tenochtitlan. It's a giant city in the middle of a lake, and it's where Mexico City stands today. Tenochtitlan was built on two small islands in a shallow lake. The Aztecs used rocks and debris to fill in the marshes around the islands and thus expand their city. Although the buildings and many of the streets were built on dry ground, some of the streets were actually canals. A huge, flat-topped pyramid stood in the center of the city. On the top of the pyramid was a temple to the Aztecs' false gods. Priests climbed up to the side of this pyramid. In addition to the king's private rooms, the royal palace contained a zoo, a library, and a workshop where artisans or craftsmen could create beautiful items. The ruins of Tenochtitlan can still be seen in Mexico City today. The Aztecs had a culture similar to that of the people who lived in remote Mexican villages today. Corn, or maize, was one of their main foods. They used it to make tortillas. The people also ate beans and chili and drank a chocolate-flavored drink. We get the English words chocolate and cocoa from the Aztec language. The Aztecs wore clothing made of brightly dyed cotton and lived in huts made of poles or adobe, which was dried bricks made of clay. The Aztecs had no alphabet, but they invented pictures and symbols for their words. A few Aztec boys and girls were trained to work in the temple. Some boys learned history, crafts, and Aztec traditions and religious beliefs in schools called houses of youth. Many Aztec children received their education at home, learning how to make a living. The Spanish explorer Hernando Cortez sailed to Mexico in 1519 to find gold and silver. Because the Aztecs had never seen white men or horses before, they worshipped the Spanish soldiers as gods. Montezuma, the Aztec emperor, gave Cortez and his men gifts of gold and silver. Cortez was not satisfied, however. With the help of the Aztecs' enemies, the Spanish conquered Montezuma and the Aztecs. Because of Cortez, Mexico became a Spanish colony. The Mexicans served Spain for the next 300 years. Then in 1810, the Mexicans revolted. Mexico won its independence in 1821 and set up a new government. In 1846, the United States and Mexico fought a war over the control of the Texas territory, which was held by Mexico. The war ended in 1848 when the United States paid Mexico for the land. Mexico is a land of mountains, deserts, and tropical jungles. It is shaped like a cornucopia or horn of plenty, with two large peninsulas, Baja California and Yucatan Peninsula, tacked on. In the north, Mexico stretches along the southern border of the United States for 1,833 miles. The Rio Grande forms part of this border. Near the southern end of Mexico, the Isthmus of Tehuantepec is only 137 miles wide. This narrow isthmus separates the Gulf of Mexico from the Pacific Ocean. From north to south, Mexico is about 1,900 miles long. And I'm not going to read the section on the Spanish language on page 272. You need to read that. Mexico is one of the most mountainous countries in the world. The entire central region from the United States borders to the Isthmus of Tehuantepec is a high plateau rimmed by two mountains. The Sierra Madre Occidental, or Western Mountain Range, includes some of the country's most rugged land. Canyons almost a mile deep cut through the western mountains, and parts of this region are so wild that they have never been explored except by air. At the point in the south where the Sierra Madre Occidental meets the Sierra Madre Oriental, or Eastern Mountain Range, there are many high peaks and a number of volcanoes. Quetzaltepetl, a dormant snow-capped volcano sometimes called Orizaba, is Mexico's highest point of 18,555 feet and the third tallest mountain in North America. Two other famous volcanic mountains, Iztaccíhuatl, or White Woman, and Popocatépetl, or Smoking Mountain, are both more than 17,000 feet high. According to legend, Popocatépetl is a warrior guarding Iztaccíhuatl, a beautiful woman. Although Iztaccíhuatl is extinct, Popocatépetl, which is only 40 miles from Mexico City, has been active for several years, spewing gas, ashes, and hot rocks. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to evacuate their homes as officials continue to monitor the volcano's periodic eruptions. The Mexican Plateau, which lies between the mountain ranges, is where most of Mexico's people live. In the north, this vast plateau is 1,500 miles across. The country's agricultural regions and principal cities are located on this plateau, including its capital, Mexico City. The plateau begins at an elevation of about 3,000 feet in the north and rises to 8,000 feet around Mexico City. And Mexico is a country of many climates. The Tropic of Cancer runs through the middle of Mexico. Thus, half of the country lies in the tropics and half in the temperate zone. The northern half of Mexico is mostly desert. Here, the Chihuahuan Desert, yes, for the dog, the Sonoran Desert, and semi-desert, which is part desert, areas cover most of the land. In the south, especially along the Caribbean coastal plain, there are lush tropical jungles filled with some of the most colorful birds in the world. Mexico's climate is greatly affected by altitude or height above sea level. The coastal plains are very hot. Along the slopes of the mountains, the climate is mild and pleasant, with little change in temperature from winter to summer. High on the plateau, such as at Mexico City, the nights are cool and the days are warm and sunny almost all year long. The crops that can be grown in Mexico depend much upon altitude. Mexico leads the world in the mining and production of silver. Gold is also abundant, as are sulfur, lead, zinc, and copper. Petroleum is one of Mexico's greatest natural resources. There are more than 1,000 kinds of cactus plants in Mexico's deserts. The candelia, a desert plant which looks like a candle, has many thin pencil-like stems that are coated with wax to help conserve its moisture. Mexicans boil the wax off and sell it for use in shoe polish, car and floor wax, candy, and crayons. Thousands of kinds of flowers grow in the varied Mexican climate, including azaleas, chrysanthemums, geraniums, orchids, and poinsettias. About a fifth of Mexico is covered with forests. The large forests are found in the northwestern and central mountains, and in the rainy south and southeast. Ebony, mahogany, rosewood, walnut, and other hardwood trees found in these forests are valuable in furniture making. Tropical forests include hardwoods, palms, and plants that receive their moisture and nutrients from the air and rain. Pine forests grow in the mountains and supply timber for Mexico's pulp and paper industry. In the south, the sapodie trees ooze sap that is the source of chicle, a major ingredient in chewing gum. The Tropic of Cancer is the dividing line between the North American realms of animal life and the South American realm of animal life. Thus, Mexico has many animals that are also found in South America, as well as many that live in North America. In the mountains, bears, deer, and mountain lions live. Coyotes, lizards, prairie dogs, and rattlesnakes are found in the northern deserts. Alligators, jaguars, possums, rodents, monkeys, armadillos, tapirs, anteaters, pumas, and wolves also live in Mexico. Montezuma had an aviary that surprised and delighted the Spanish explorers. An aviary is basically like a large enclosure that holds birds. The Indians bred macaws, parrots, and turkeys. They worshipped birds, used their feathers for decoration and trade, and ate their meat. Beautifully colored quetzals live in southern forests. Some other birds in Mexico are flamingos, hummingbirds, herons, and pelicans. Let's talk about Mexico today. The people of Mexico are of three main groups: Indians, Europeans, and mestizos. Most Mexicans are mestizos, which is a mixture of Native American and European ancestry. The Indians are the direct descendants of the ancient Indian tribes who lived in Mexico, especially the Aztecs, Mayas, and the Toltecs. Mexico City, the capital of Mexico, is the largest city and most advanced area in the entire country. In 2000, it was the third largest city in the world, containing well over 16 million people. And make sure you also read the thing about Paracatutan, the cornfield that became a volcano. That's going to be on a quiz, definitely. Let's see here, what I'm talking about. All right. So make sure that you read definitely from pages 276 on. It talks about the other cities besides Mexico City, which is the capital. You know, you can learn about Monterrey, Guadalajara, and what village life is like. Remember, culture in Mexico and in Central America is very different from here. In Central America, around noon, it is almost required, but heavily encouraged, that you take a siesta or mid-noon nap for about an hour. So in Mexico and places in Central America, most things shut down for about an hour so people can rest, which is a pretty cool thing to have in your businesses, because people get tired at work. But make sure that you finish this page. The section ends on 277. And make sure you do the comp check 15B. I didn't read all of it because there's a lot here, but make sure you definitely read those last couple of pages that talk about culture and the cities, because I wasn't able to get to that. But make sure you read that, and tomorrow it's Good Friday, so I'm not going to tap on anything else beyond this, so make sure that you've done all your work, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys soon, hopefully. Have a good extended weekend.